There comes a moment when you've exhausted all your options while simultaneously coming across a product that reinvents your notion about what an honest and high-quality company looks like. The Healing Rose was the catalyst to that very moment for me. The Healing Rose Company is a female-owned Massachusetts CBD company based out of Newburyport that prides themselves in using only the best USDA-certified organically sourced ingredients for their vast line of therapeutic products. Their line stretches from lip balms, tinctures, skin balms, roll-on oils, and bath products. Their transparency places them above the rest with third-party tested results showcasing their intolerance to toxic pesticides, solvents, metals, and harmful elements. They provide full-spectrum CBD in many of their products, excluding their tinctures, which carry a broad spectrum profile, ideal for not having to worry about any low-level THC, which is common for many CBD products. That one's my favorite, and it's good on the palate. Full spectrum means that they extract from the hemp plant an array of different therapeutic cannabinoids along with CBD and their profile terpenes. The combination results in a greater outcome of healing and relaxation for any individual's needs. Whether you are an athlete looking for any recovery advantage, a patient in need of some relief to remind yourself that you are still a warrior, or someone who sees the frontiers of life with a little reserve and want to calm the mental storms that keep you from personally exploring, the Healing Rose CBD Company is here for your full body and mind optimization. Please visit thehealingroseco.com to explore their diverse line of products and support one of New England's best rising stars in an industry where ethics are fundamental, and a company like this will only be found sitting at the throne of it all. Use the code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit thehealingroseco.com and use the promo code SAGAS at checkout for 10% off your purchase. To the many martial artists, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and thinkers, how often, for your own sake, would you love a symbolic reminder of your mentality and the perfect dichotomy to match? Murder Nerd is an independent clothing apparel line that represents the sharp, relentless focus towards personal growth and athletics. It embodies the vitality of their creative owners and the network of people who run on the same frequency. Why not elevate your frequency in comfort and style? Visit www.murdernerdsfitness.com for their personal line of shirt and hat wear. Enter the promo code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit murdernerdfitness.com and enter the promo code SAGAS for 10% off your purchase. All right, so we're sitting and we're sweating. So today I get home and it's about that time that my daughter needs to take a nap. So I decide to bring her upstairs and try to put her to bed. But she's got a friend over, friend's got to go home. The whole runaround on getting upset and not wanting to leave the environment, right? So she just gets mad. You know, and I play the normal game and I do my normal tactics of trying to divert her thoughts and make her think in a different way or put her attention somewhere else. And it works and it's all good and it's fun and happy and she takes her nap. But in that moment, I remembered a book that I had read. And this book was a very big deal when I read it. And it had my attention fully from page to page. And it was from a therapist from, I believe he's a Toronto-based psychotherapist. His name is Gabor Mate. I looked into this guy my goodness, I'd say 7 years ago, I'd say 6 years ago, because I had stumbled across some of his videos when I was researching what the experience of psychedelics was about. And he came on my feed because I was trying to do some legwork on just kind of what to expect, how I should set my environment, my thoughts, all of the responsible things I guess you should contemplate before doing it for the first time. And that's something else that I can get into at another point. But I ran into some of his videos, and they were very good because he used ayahuasca as a tool for some group sessions that he was holding. And he would take, I think it was between 8 to 10 clients together to a retreat, and they would experience this experience, and he would document it. And it was, one of the documentaries was just pretty much had me in tears. And I knew he was an author, and I put him away, and I really just kind of used him as kind of a psychedelic resource, one of many, but never really got into his books. And the rub with this guy is that he does an incredible job of tracing and tracking, first and foremost, people's addictions, substance abuse, physical manifestations of pain, and I guess society's just inability to maneuver these difficult waters of just life. He attributes all of that to trauma. He's a very big trauma-based psychotherapist. And one of the books he had written is called When the Body Says No. And something that stuck out in that book for me was a point where he discusses the importance of anger and how anger is a very important emotion to feel, especially as a child. And I'm sure I'm not going to do this justice at all, but I'll do my best. But in the book, he describes the idea that when a child becomes angry, it's kind of a reflection that the child knows that it matters, if that makes any sense. So when kids get mad, sometimes you can get the wrong attention for it, or they can get the wrong attention for it. And what I mean by that is that they can be treated in a way that shames that anger is not useful, that anger is something that needs to be dealt with, I guess, in isolation, right? And his point in the book is that to address it and to allow them to be angry, one lets you know that, as I said before, that they matter, right? Something in that situation got to them so much that they became angry. And if you neglect anger and you shame anger in a child, it steers them down the road of suppressing anger. And that suppression of anger has very bad consequences. And it was the first time that I had really heard that. So the greater context to this idea and the bigger topic of this book is how stress creates and compounds disease, and that you can categorize people by the types of stress that they bring on in their lives into different personalities. So for example, we have lung cancer, right? Not everybody who smokes dies of lung cancer. But in this book, it describes how some physicians are starting to look at the idea that when we diagnose a patient with lung cancer, we should start looking at the emotional history of that patient. And what they came up with was that there's an inclination that when you're diagnosed with lung cancer, that you may have a personality that is very neglectful of, I would say, surface-based, or not even surface-based, just not very good at addressing emotions, right? You smoke cigarettes to kind of get a little bit of a, I don't know if you'd call it a dopamine dump, or just, it's a stress reliever, right? So we use it as a crutch to kind of get through the moments and get through the day, and never really kind of sit down with what is pissing us off. Whether it's our job, or whether it's our spouse, or our kids, or just the mountain of things that it could be. And you look at when people start smoking. You know, it's an addictive property in itself, obviously, but it's something that definitely aids you in just getting a little bit of a reset in your thinking when things are difficult, right? That's why people like smoke breaks at work. Whether it's a physically hard or it's mentally demanding, it gives you a little bit of a reset. And I had never heard of that idea where we can now almost predict personality types and the kind of diseases they may get because of the way that they mentally then physically process their chronic states of stress. They talked about workaholics, right? And in a time where the fad is to be busy and to always have something going on and to talk about it, you know, that's a dangerous those are dangerous shoes to put on. But the workaholic was a personality type that was prone to, I believe it was MS. And they describe the workaholic, and they describe the person who's unable to address their emotions. You know, and in all of these different personality types, And Gabor does a great way of kind of breaking down that workaholic personality, where the origin of that is a people pleaser, right? And that can swing in both ways, where you either got no attention, so you wanted to please your parents to get attention, or the worst one is your parents thinking they are giving you the correct amount of attention and love, and all they're doing is kind of raising the bar for your performance and unintentionally making you identify with a certain value. Like there's a certain, how do I say this? How the hell do I break this down? You become praised so often for something that you're doing that now you're constantly having to live up to that. And it's unintentional, right? As a parent, you're constantly wanting to support your kids and all that shit, and you feel that you're just being a loving person. And if it's not monitored, it can go overboard. And now the only way that you understand love is by making one or both of them happy in your performance or achievements, because that is usually when you get that form of love or praise. Then that turns into a workaholic, and just it spirals into just pleasing the boss and pleasing the peers and pleasing the spouse. And it's a very neat path that the beginnings of that can take. So it was a book that really broke that down. And it also made me look at myself. You know, obviously never mind me taking what that book said and now being very weary of it, kind of with my own child, and giving them the space to be mad and, you know, kind of enjoying that they're mad in a weird way, because I know that if they didn't get mad to a degree, there would be something off there. But obviously nothing would be, I wouldn't think it would be off, because I never shame her for getting mad or having any emotion, really, you know. I'm very much of the school of the no nonsense, but when it comes to feeling things, I'm there to kind of navigate it so that in the end we both understand it, you know. But, you know, whatever. That's just me, and that's just one small piece of it. But, you know, I started thinking about this anger part a little more and a little more and a little more, and I started thinking about it in my own situations where I wasn't able to get mad. And if I did get mad, I was never able to express it to the party that made me mad. And what do you do with that? And how does that manifest later on? You know, I know, you know, and these examples I'll give you, I'd like to break them down fully later so that this makes, I guess, a little more sense. But I had some figures in my life that I would want to get mad at. And I never really could. One, because I was too young. Two, because they were much older. And by the time I was old enough to get mad, it was just such an explosion that it became scary and borderline violent. So because that was never really addressed in a healthy way, I can see how never addressing that anger now creates a very easily triggered response when it comes to interactions, just with people. I guess this is just what an anger issue is, right? Whereas when you're an adult and you get angry and you have this kind of situation, you've never been in that space to kind of understand it. So because you've never been in that space to understand it, you're just running on red. You're just running on wanting to insult, wanting to go off of your first gut reaction of aggression or retaliation, or you name it, whatever degree it is. And I don't know, there's I guess it's funny because some of these things come off very much like common sense, but only common sense if you know them. And there's a lot to know when it comes to just functioning at your best just through your life, and knowing how you want to grow, where you need to grow, what needs to get better. And I try not to get too embarrassed with myself for having these enlightening moments over an idea that I guess any healthy person would have. But in the end, I guess it doesn't really matter, because I found the lesson, and that's what really matters. It doesn't matter if I got there 20 years ago, if I get here now, or if I get there in 5 years. It just matters that it just finally hits you. And yeah, it just really hit me how important it is to be able to sit with your anger and express it, and have some kind of parental mentorship in breaking it down so that a child understands it and then continues to understand it more and more, so that you don't get a society of reactive people that, in a way, I guess are just reliving that initial moment of anger, right? Every time somebody does something to you, unintentionally too. And I just took a lot away from that book. I took a lot of that, which was addressing anger in general, my own anger, that the how healthy it is to actually have it if it's managed, especially with a child, how I cross that over with my own daughter, how I sympathize with people who I can kind of see get angry easily, and what kind of, well-intended judgments I make about maybe what has happened to that person. And just how much of a motherfucker stress really is. People tell you that, you need to bring your stress down, but, until I think you read this book and you read the science behind what it does to you, it is a very dangerous and insidious process that can kill you physically because of how the body really does react to the constant and chronic undertow of stress. And not even the stress of like the one that you feel on your skin because someone's making you angry, or traffic is shitty, or work is difficult, or bills aren't getting paid. It's that undertone of stress that comes from not understanding who you are and how to function from 20 years ago of abuse or neglect, which maybe they're one and the same. And that is just always there. And that cellularly can modulate you and change you in a way that's not good. And, to kind of bring it all back around, it's like I think that is why Gabor Mate also finds the tremendous amount of help and power in psychedelics when it comes to unraveling and rewiring the circuits around people's past and people's traumas so that they can live their healthy, vibrant, real, genuine life again. And I would suggest this book absolutely, whether you have a small itch that you're wondering about mentally, or you've been devastated by something and just don't know how to tell yourself that it's either how to get yourself out of it, and to also tell yourself that it's not your fault. 100% suggest this book, Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No. He's got another one on peer bonding and parental bonding that I'm kind of halfway through. I need to actually read that again because I stopped it like a year ago because of circumstances, but that book is actually incredible too. That's a great one, especially if you have children. It gets into this whole kind of the downfalls of when kids actually peer bond in a way where they value their peers' values more than parental values, which when you really sit down and think about that, that's terrifying because kids are fucking crazy. So why would you value crazy people's values? Anyways. If you ever get time, and I think there is an Audibles book, and I've had a couple other friends who have read it, and it's absolutely changed their life and their ability and willingness to look at what has happened to them and to know how to take the proper precautions on how to think in the future and how to just digest information and how to just look at yourself better. So, I guess, this is just a big book recommendation, but, it's it really helped me. And this was really just what was on my mind. And it kind of came to me, like I said, when I was just helping my daughter navigate her own emotions. And now that I have a child, I kind of see the child in a lot of people. And I mean that in the most empathetic way. It really is very insightful how much we all still run on the hiccups of our past. And if we just sat down to kind of talk to each other in a way that in a way that if you were your child self and you were comfortable, if we could talk to each other in that way, what kind of things we could let go of and not have them cascade and overflow into our adulthood, which just makes us lost and anxious and depressed and unknowing on how to correct it. And really just to be nicer to each other, you know? It's like, it's easy to meet anger with anger. I get that. So, yeah, Gabor Mate, when the body says no. So, if you get pissed off, try to be pissed off in a safe space, I guess. But that's it, guys. Thank you.